Hey guys, this is Nick with PhoneArena, and what we have here are two smartphones you're probably familiar with, the iPhone 5 and the Google Nexus 4. So we just installed iOS 7 on our iPhone 5, and we thought it would be nice to give a quick comparison between what it has to offer compared to the Google Nexus 4 and Android 4.2 running on it. So the very first thing we're gonna compare is the lock screens on these two devices. It's a pretty important feature because that's the very first thing a user sees when they power their smartphone on. So here it is, the new lock screen on the iOS 7 operating system. It doesn't really look that much different from what it looked like before. It provides quick access to the notification bar, to the control center with a swipe from the bottom, and the camera application, of course. It would have been nicer though if we were allowed to unlock the screen with a swipe to either side. Right now, the only way to unlock the lock screen is with a swipe to the right. The lock screen on the Google Nexus 4 and Android 4.2 is pretty rich in terms of features because it provides customization with lock screen widgets, and it doesn't really matter which way we swipe to unlock the screen. However, the selection of lock screen widgets isn't as rich as we wish it was. Overall, both lock screens are pretty good, although they could have been better. An iPhone 5 running iOS 7 has room for 24 icons total on its home screens. Interestingly, the stock Android interface on a Google Nexus 4 leaves room for only 20 app shortcuts, even though the smartphone has a larger display with high resolution. Of course, that's not too big of a deal, especially since both platforms allow applications to be placed in folders. The iOS 7 home screen isn't bad, definitely, but perhaps it's a bit too static, which is why we tend to like Android a bit more for its versatility. It's just that widgets are a pretty cool feature that Apple's mobile operating system hasn't yet adopted in one form or another. Control Center is a new feature in iOS that adds functionality that the operating system really needed. You swipe up from the bottom of the screen and you get this menu with toggle buttons for turning the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth and other features on and off, for changing the brightness of the screen, for controlling music playback, even for using the camera's LED light as a flashlight. Functionality like this has been available on Android custom user interfaces for a long time, and even the stock UI has a lot of options available in a small menu located in the notification bar. Speaking of notifications, the notification center in iOS 7 has been overhauled and now takes the user straight to their agenda. That's very convenient for people who actually use the calendar application. Furthermore, the user is free to pick what notifications are displayed here: stocks information, unread email, game center alerts, reminders, and more. The Android notification bar is a bit different because it doesn't really display much if there aren't any pending notifications, but on the other hand, the user does get updates via Google Now. On iOS 7, the only thing you need to call someone is the phone application. It lists your contacts, your recent calls, your favorite contacts, and of course it has a keypad. On Android 4.2, the phone application is pretty much with the same functionality, but it has one notable advantage, namely that it lists your contacts with their profile picture to the left. On iOS 7, you do get profile pictures as well, but only for your favorite contacts and when you tap on a contact to view detailed information. Typing on a mobile device quickly and efficiently is often a matter of getting used to the on-screen virtual keyboard. With iOS 7 and the iPhone 5, we can quickly type texts using a single thumb because the width of the iPhone is optimal for the purpose. The Google Nexus 4, which comes with a wider screen, is a lot more comfortable to type on with two thumbs because it's wider. Overall, both virtual keyboards are pretty nice. Perhaps Android has a slight advantage with its dedicated smiley key and with the option to enter text using the swipe method. But when it comes to messaging as a whole, iOS has a significant advantage over Android with its iMessage system, which automatically routes texts over the web instead of eating up the user's monthly SMS allowance. Not that Android's Hangouts feature is a bad solution, but it would have been much nicer if the Android messaging features were unified in a single application. Both Chrome, running on Android 4.2, and Safari on iOS 7 are great for surfing the web because they're very fast, with support for multiple tabs and incognito browsing. Also, both can synchronize bookmarks between devices, which is very convenient for people who have to often switch between the desktop computer and a mobile device. We only wish that Chrome had Safari's feature called Reader. It clears the web page from all unnecessary content, leaving only the body of the article, which makes it much easier to read. The stock camera interface on Android 4.2 leaves something to be desired. For people who aren't familiar with it, the UI can be confusing and frustrating to use. We assume that Google tried to simplify its use by making all knobs and switches available at a swipe's distance, but that's clearly not a solution that users would appreciate. The iOS 7 camera interface, on the other hand, is a simple and intuitive. Even a newbie can get a hang of it in no time. The newly added filters make the experience even more enjoyable. The iOS 7 gallery application has grown smarter now, and it can list your images based on the time and the location they were taken at. It also lets you edit an image by adding filters, removing red eyes, fine-tuning the color balance, or simply cropping it in a desired proportion. Sharing photos online is also an option. The Android 4.2 gallery is also capable of editing and sharing images, as well as to sort them by date or location. So we don't think it's really any less functional. However, it would have been cooler if there were more thumbnail sizes available in grid view. When it comes to multimedia playback, Android 4.2 doesn't really care how you load your music or videos onto the device. The user can just hook the smartphone to a computer and copy and paste their music or videos onto it folder by folder. Of course, one can also purchase music through the Google Play Store. The iTunes application is what you need to install onto your computer if you want to transfer music or video onto this iOS device. It's not that bad of a solution, especially because you can also purchase music or videos from iTunes, but some might find this limitation a bit annoying. If we had to pick between the iOS 7 music player and the Play Music application on Android 4.2, we would most likely go with iOS 7. Apple's solution just feels a little bit better organized, although Google's music player is definitely not bad either. Both applications allow one to control the music playback from the lock screen, which definitely makes things more convenient. Also, they both come with streaming services built in: iTunes Radio for Apple's iOS 7 and Play Music All Access for Google's Android. Also, both of them offer the ability to stream whatever audio the user has stored in the cloud. When it comes to multitasking, everything seems about right. Switching between apps on both iOS 7 and on Android 4.2 is pretty straightforward. Apple's mobile operating system now provides preview windows for the applications, unlike in previous versions where the apps were listed only with their icon in the bottom. Multitasking on Android is also executed well, with recent apps listed vertically along with a screenshot of their latest state. When it comes to customization, Android is still king with its widgets, live wallpapers, and custom launchers. However, Apple has done some progress in that aspect. In iOS 7, Apple allows you to set dynamic wallpapers on both the home screen and the lock screen. So in conclusion, it's pretty hard, if not impossible, to pick a clear winner between iOS 7 and Android 4.2. Both operating systems are very well made and are in their best state to date. If you prefer an elegant, simple, and intuitive interface, then iOS 7 would be the one to pick. Or if you are more into customization, and if you like the feeling of having more control over your smartphone, then would suggest going with Android. Thank you for watching our comparison between iOS 7 and Android 4.2. This is Nick with PhoneArena. Don't hesitate to check us out at PhoneArena.com.